Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
Joe Starkey on the call.
The
of that,
legend.
That play. And joining us right now, Merton Hanks, Super Bowl 29 champion, 8 seasons with San Francisco 49ers and all-pro safety. Hey, Merton, thanks so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate talking a little 49ers Cowboys football with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know if you're on Zoom or not. You're not. Okay, so you don't see my partner who's wearing a Cowboy jersey. But when I say Cowboys-Niners, what do you think about?
Well, I think that the greatest NFL franchise God ever created in the San Francisco 49ers are taking on another excellent franchise in the Dallas Cowboys, multiple great memories across multiple generations. You know, this is one of the few games in NFL lore that your grandfather has a great memory of, your father has a great memory of, you have a great memory of, and now this generation, your son and daughter, can have great memories of these two excellent teams. And I think this game is going to go a long way towards playoff positioning, as it should be with the winner coming out of this deal.
Merton, these two teams have met in the playoffs the last 2 years, as you know, as the Niners winning. And I spit my coffee out this morning because you know what it's like to prepare and get ready for an opponent. But the Trey Lance, I was rooting for him. It didn't work out here. He's in Dallas. And I said to myself, these two teams know each other so much. Trey couldn't give them anything they didn't know. When you heard that little story, you know what goes on. Is there anything to that, or was I right to kind of laugh that off?
Well, I think there are, look, to be candid, whenever you have someone from another team, there's a reason that, you'll see the person taking off the scout team, for instance, signed to one of your future opponents. Look, scheme-wise, in regard to what you're trying to do offensively and defensively, you can pick those things up on film. It's the little things, how a certain, I'll say, for instance, a defensive back may like to play a certain route, for instance, that type of thing. That's the type of information that those players can share with that group at the time. But as far as, overall game plans and that type of thing, the old adage really is a true and safe adage. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. The 49ers will know what the Cowboys are trying to do and vice versa. It'll be upon those teams that execute when it's time to go.
Merton Hanks joining us on 95.7 The Game, all-pro safety, former 49er. As a former safety, I mean, you've seen Brock Purdy now play 10, 12 games. What do you think as a player who would go up against him if you were a contemporary?
Well, I think he's done an excellent job of executing the vision of Kyle Shanahan in the sense of minimizing mistakes, put the ball in your playmakers' hands. And look, if you could do that, you should win a lot of games. The 49ers, our fans really are in kind of a sweet spot in that perspective. I was having this conversation with a fellow NFL alumni. The 49ers have all-pro level talent, certainly on the offensive defensive side of the ball, literally at every level, right? Yep. From the defensive side of the ball, from the linebackers to the secondary, as well as obviously offensively from the tight end to the running back. Amazing what Pac-12 Stanford alum Christian McCaffrey's doing, and certainly at the wide receiver position. You're not lacking in elite level talent. And he's done a great job. He being Purdy has done a great job of not being bigger than the game plan. Just execute the game plan, get the ball to your playmakers, and minimize mistakes. You do that, you'll win a lot of games. And, George Seifert, former head coach of the 49ers, who said best, you can win a lot of games if you just don't mess it up. And Purdy hasn't messed it up. And so you got to give him credit for that.
Merton, I came in Monday after the last game against Arizona, and Arizona went 99 yards, and I felt like I was nitpicking, but I told my partner, you know what? This Niner defense with the addition of Hargrave and Bosa, I just expected more disruption. And Armstead, I don't feel like I've seen that, and I'm not saying they're playing bad, but I feel like the O might be ahead of the D. What have you seen from this Niner defensive unit 4 weeks in?
I think this game, look, Nick Bosa's obviously without all camp, that type of thing, and the NFL is the NFL. You got to kind of work your way into game speed and getting going. I think Hargrave has done a good job to date and that type of thing, certainly along with Armstead. I think Armstead's really underrated. I think he's really a pivotal player on that defensive line for the 49ers. I will say this is the game to get ramped up. As it pains me to say this, that Dallas front seven is an absolute monster in respect to what they do and how they unleash their pass rush on folks. In that the Parsons kid, obviously he's not a kid, he's a grown man, but that guy is a legitimate game wrecker. And so to match the energy that's coming, and again, I try not to pump up the opposition any more than I have to, but Dallas has a legitimate front seven that can cause problems. And I think defensively, certainly, the 49ers are going to have to match that. Fortunately for us, we have the personnel to match that.
Merton, let me ask you about games that are Sunday night games or Monday night games. Is there a difference between those games and a 1 p.m., let's say, start on a Sunday?
In many, night games are always kind of, because you're look, by Sunday, the old saying, the hay's in the barn, so to speak, right? You're ready to go, and now you got to wait these additional hours to get to your craft. But Sunday night games, Monday night games, everyone in your universe, i.e. the NFL universe, the sporting universe in general that's interested in professional football is paying attention. So you always just naturally ramp yourself up a little bit more for those games because, again, your peers are watching across the nation. So I expect really a well-run game. I don't expect a lot of penalties in this game. I expect it to be very well executed, and the players definitely will be turned way up in regard to their intensity in any Sunday night or Monday night game.
Speaking of turn up, Merton, every time I saw you play, when you busted out the chicken dance, something good happened. And what we do nowadays with technology is we can do the show and see the comments from the YouTubers. And I got like 50 answers to the origin of your chicken dance, and they're all different. Can you share with us where that origin from?
Let's see. I was watching Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street with my daughters, Maya and Milan. They were very young at the time, and they were doing this kind of funny walk, and they were doing the pigeon, doing a little walk, that type of thing. And so I was playing around with it, quite frankly, just to make my daughters laugh at home, and it kind of found its way to the practice field and then ultimately onto the game field. So that's the actual origin of that.
They got it right there. That was the leader in the clubhouse, Elmo.
Yeah, that was a couple guys had it. A couple guys had the details on that. Merton Hanks joining us on 95.7 The Game, Super Bowl 29 champ, 8 seasons with San Francisco. We had Jerry Rice on our station couple days ago, and we're talking about Deion Sanders because he went from San Francisco to Dallas, and obviously he's a big name in college football now. And Jerry told this story, and I want you to take a listen and maybe add some context to it if you don't mind. Take a listen.
I'm gonna take you guys back to Deion also because there was an altercation. I think it was Super Bowl 29 in Miami where some of the guys they decided to be a little late for curfew, and the coaches the next morning they turned it over to the team to deal with that situation. And everybody thought that Deion and we were trying to choke each other out or do whatever. I was just letting those guys know that it's important for us to go out there and win that Super Bowl. And we can party after, we can have a good time, but we didn't want to lose sight of what we had to get done.
You remember anything about that, Mert?
Absolutely. I was in the room.
So was it the day before the game or like a game or a night the week before, or a big deal or not a big deal?
It depends on your perspective. Right. I think I've said this publicly on many occasions. It was a Wednesday, I believe. Obviously, the game's played on Sunday. And the thing about athletes, and I would say people in general as far as their work schedule, once they get accustomed to what their schedule is, that's how they go about their business. So there were a number of us, and I will say I was one of those people who missed curfew. I have no problem saying that. That missed curfew, and George Seifert took the opportunity because he took the opportunity to kind of rally the team back together from his stead. Ironically, we amongst the players, I thought it was hilarious in the sense that the practices were going perfect. When there's an old phrase, you had a great practice when a ball doesn't touch the ground.
Right.
Every catch was being made, no blown assignments. Practices were perfect. We'd already played the opponent before in the regular season. Look, we knew we were winning the game. It was just going to be by how much, right? So George needed something because he couldn't point to anything in practice. You know how coaches are. They want to be able to correct you and hey, we need to focus in on this and focus in on that. We were so perfect in practice throughout that week. There was really nothing to complain about. So George took that opportunity to say, okay, here's my shot to kind of get my team's attention over a few very adult men not making it into their hotel rooms by, I think curfew was 10:15, 11:15, somewhere around there. So
wow.
I personally thought it was amusing. And I'll be the first to say, I very much was hanging out on South Beach. I got in very late and still showed up on Sunday and had a pretty good game.
Wow,
so
Merton.
that's what I think of that.
Hey, you're real quick, Merton. That reminds me of the old story with the New York Yankees when Billy Martin was managing the Yankees or was playing for the Yankees, and he said, you could have dropped a bomb on the team hotel, but if it was after curfew, no Yankees would have died.
That's pretty good.
And again, and not to take away from the seriousness of Jerry's position and that type of thing, but it was an opportunity more for, quite frankly, the coaching staff to let's at least get recentered on the game. Everyone was centered on the game again. To me, it was quite frankly as much ado about nothing at the end of the day, because even after that conversation, we went out and had another perfect practice. That would have been a Thursday practice. And then we had a Friday practice. Saturday wasn't. So plenty of time before the game. No one, I've heard this story kind of morph into something more than, quite frankly, than what it really was. No one was out the night before the game.
Right.
Carousing and that type of thing. We were locked in and focused and ready to go. It is the Super Bowl against the AFC champion, then San Diego Chargers. So you have to respect that for sure. And I think the proof is in the pudding in regard to what we put on film that day.
Wow. Merton, we appreciate the honesty. Let me run this by you, Merton, because I raised my partner's blood pressure with this. I got some diehard Niner fans. Their slogan some years back, when we go, we win. That was the Super Bowl. Here lately, not so much. And I told him, you know what? Kyle Shanahan and the Niners should have won that Super Bowl in 19. That's just me, and I go through some of the play calling. So I came in this year, I said it's Super Bowl or bust. They got the new contracts. Nobody's getting fired. But when you look at this loaded Niner team, Merton, is it fair for me just to say, or any Niner fan out there, if they don't win it this year, Merton, when is Kyle going to win it?
Well, here's what I would say. I was at Super Bowl in New Orleans when quite frankly, Jim Harbaugh led team on that Super Bowl. I was literally standing on the 10-yard line. I was working with then EVP of football operations, Ray Anderson. We're standing on the 10-yard line watching that unfold in the fourth quarter. I knew the 49ers were winning that game, quite honestly. So there have been a couple of misses here as far as Super Bowl appearances. And I certainly think this team, even if it doesn't capture the Lombardi Trophy this year, I think this team is set up for long-term success. I think the majority of your key playmakers are relatively young or right in the middle of their careers. And so I think the runway for the 49ers is substantial. It's not a Los Angeles Rams situation where you better win it this year because you're going to have cap issues and you're going to have to do some things differently the next year because you kind of put yourself in purgatory. So the 49er fans should know that certainly as a team with a long runway for the Super Bowl, we're in very good shape. But to address your point, the team is actually built to win this year. They have everything that they need. Knock on wood, health. If they can stay healthy, they certainly going to be able to put themselves in prime position going into the playoffs. But if the 49ers don't win it this year again, I feel confident in where they're at as an organization and, quite frankly, their team structure, that they're going to be involved.
You got a prediction for Sunday, Merton?
The Dallas Cowboys have kind of changed their offense a little bit under Mike McCarthy. He's kind of running what I call the old Green Bay Packer offense. It's very much a more dominant running situation, more calculated throws. They're not taking as many deep shots as they used to. I think that might be a personnel issue. I think Michael Gallup back helps them with that. So I do think the 49er defense will have to really play exceptionally well, especially in the front seven, because if you can put the Cowboys behind and put them in third and medium to long situations, that certainly will play into the 49ers' advantage. I think offensively, on the Cowboys side of the ledger, them losing their all-pro corner in Diggs really has affected that defense. They're not nearly as good without him as they were with him. That said, the guy replaced him is not a bad player. I just think whenever you're missing that caliber of player at the cornerback position, it automatically sets your defense back. So as long as you can control the Parsons young man in respect to keeping his splash plays at a minimum and quite frankly stay on the field as an offense, I think the 49ers have an excellent chance of winning. One of the things I've always said in these games recently with the Cowboys and 49ers, the fact of the matter is the 49ers enjoy running the ball. They're not a team that wants to throw and then, come back and run if they have to. They enjoy running the ball, and that's been an Achilles heel for the Cowboys. So with that said, I think Christian has a great game, and I've been picking the 49ers to win it.
Man, Merton, you've been phenomenal. I'm trusting my people here. We'll get you out of here with this one. They say Merton's going to be signing at a Niner party in Fremont tomorrow. Is that true?
Yes, I'll be in town. I'm going to hit 2 or 3 spots.
Okay.
I'm going to come out.
So it's like that Wednesday before the Super Bowl.
South Beach.
Yeah. So I'll be bouncing around the Bay Area tomorrow, looking for all the 49er faithfuls where they gather and come spend a little time. And
that's awesome.
Look forward to interacting with the fans.
Awesome,
He's
Merton.
a real one.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. Great stuff. And enjoy the game Sunday.
All right. You too now.
All right. That's Merton Hanks, Super Bowl
cool
29
cat,
champion, 8 seasons with the 49ers, all-pro safety.